Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Zwift Community Live broadcast of the Zwift Racing League final race number 8 in the season 1 of the 2021-22 year. Nathan Guerra here, back after 2 weeks off. Anna Russell next to me. And it sounds like best wishes to Kate. It sounds like I somehow passed whatever is going on with me over to Australia somehow. On a kangaroo on the back of a plane somewhere. But and so everybody, we're into the final race. It's yesterday looks to have been absolutely insane racing when it comes to the Premier Division. Some of the best racing we've ever seen, it sounds like, out on Zwift. Anna, what are you thinking today about today's course?
Oh, what am I not thinking about today's course? I just feel like there has been chat all week. There's been chat for 2 weeks, and then the last few days has been insane. I've been watching racing over the weekend, seeing what bike choices people have been going with, who's been doing bike swaps, who hasn't. I've seen we've got Sai in with the comments coming in, and Swift Insiders put out articles. Just it's gone pretty mad on what the race is going to be like, and I know a lot of people will be tuning in because this is the first community division. People can ride the Trons in this one. So, let's see what people decide to choose.
That's a great point. That does change things up a little bit here. I'm already seeing a few gravel bikes selected in the women's race as they get out on course. The men's race about to start in about 3 minutes or so as well. We'll be covering both the A divisions in that. So, so far we haven't seen, at least in the Premier Division, it doesn't seem like it was like cut and dry. You know what I mean? As far as it goes with bike, choice. The bikes were able to hang on amongst the men. In the women's field, again, it was head to head, sounds like. So when it comes to gravel bike versus a road bike, so it's still that. And I know a lot of people, you were saying before we went live, like a lot of people will be tuning in just like, what should I do? So
Yeah,
in the community, it may be a little bit different. It might also depend on what category we're talking about as well. So
yeah,
we'll see how that ends up playing
absolutely.
out. Very interesting, though, that it was not cut and dry as far as what bike won on the day.
No, and I think I mean, I went out and experimented. I rode with Coco Cadence over the weekend, once on the gravel, the Canyon Grail, and then once on the Tron. The Tron, you had to hold like 30 to 40 watts less than the gravel bike. So it kind of comes down to how long you can hold a threshold. So you look at, say, Kristen Kulczynski, who had an absolutely dominating performance. She had to hold some massive watts for a majority of the course on the tarmac just to stay in the bunch. So you're in the draft, but you still got to hold about 30 watts more. But if you can stay in that bunch and keep that high threshold and then push that VO2, you can just smash that gravel and your bike will roll away from the rest of the roadies. But if your threshold's not good, the risk is you'll just get dropped at that first sprint banner on the gravel, which just doesn't accelerate as well. So, I mean, it just will go any way. Then you've got the team element. Do you got 6-person teams? You put 2 riders on a gravel, 2 riders on a Tron, and 2 riders on a more aero setup or a more climbing setup. I mean, yeah, there's so many different decisions you can make and so many different ways the race will play out.
That's a really good point. And it kind of harkens back to something we had talked about a few months back, that the way that you win a race, if you can hang with the pack, is by using the sharpest tool for the section that is the winning section of the race. When it comes down
Mm-hmm.
to it, bike races are won when things get very, very difficult for a shorter period of time. It isn't a TT. It isn't a team time trial. It isn't the fastest bike overall on the whole course. And that's one thing I see a lot of times in conversations. Well, what's the fastest over this duration? A lot of times in bike racing, it's more about when things get really difficult. And when we get into that point, the end of the race, that's when the race is won. And I think we're going to see that a lot, actually, in the races throughout the day today in this final race. Also, one last thing to talk about before we get down into the women's race, and they're about to hit their sprint point, is it's been kind of Grupo Compacto up front, not a whole lot of action, but playoffs are another discussion now too. Out of each and every one of
Yeah.
these, zones, we are going to see a selection of the top 2 heading into, well, the top 2 across a lot of the more populated zones, and then the top 1 in some of the other ones. But there's playoffs on the line now.
Absolutely. And when you look at that course for the scratch race in the playoffs, Innsbruck, what is it? The Innsbruck KOM after party. Whew, that is a really tough course. That's going to test the riders, but also it tests the whole team. And I think that's what's really good about it. You've got the sprint segments, but then you've also got that huge Innsbruck climb. So you've got to be a whole team here. I know with my team that races tomorrow, Team Riot, it is absolutely about the whole team, and that's what's been really cool about the courses selected in this season. Is you can't just have an individual star; you've got to have a whole team working together, and that's been phenomenal.
Yeah, 100%. Lots of chat coming through here. Sarah Watmore is saying that she watched PD last night, dreamt about Zwift all night, woke up still pondering, and now hoping APAC races help me advise my team for later. Side with 100%, Nathan. It's not always the fastest bike around the course whole, but through the key segments. So speaking of the key segments, the women are about to head into their first sprint point. Let's go ahead down out on course and see how things are playing out. We'll start taking a look at the team standings as well, how things are played out throughout the season so far. Right in with Justine Barrow, though, and actually saw a feather power-up used just a moment ago. I do believe we're on Steamroller, Feather, and is it going to be an arrow as well out here today?
Draft.
Draft, excuse me.
So we've got the draft. Yeah, draft, which obviously you'll mostly be wanting to save that for the sprint. Steamroller, I mean, you look at the Prem men's division, that's what won the race. Is there was a kind of a bit of a mano a mano battle with a gravel bike versus the Cervelo S5 2020. And the Cervelo won just because they had the steamroller and they were able to roll over that gravel bike right at the end. So that was a phenomenal finish. If you haven't actually seen the video of that, have a look at the winner, because man, their eyes on the winner at the end. The video of him there was he was going absolutely bananas, which was really cool to see. So this is always,
of course, a quick little power outage. It was all because Justine Barrow went directly to the front, though, and dimmed the power grid. It looks like here, Anna, as they head to the front of this race course on the gravel bike as we head up the climb. Interesting enough to see right from the get-go, this looks like it's going to be the tactic on the day. 2.5 laps, though. This is super early, but with a smaller crowd, maybe a good move.
I mean, she's doing the Kristen Kolchinski is what I'm going to call it now, which is just going full noise attack right from the gun on that climb, getting a bit of a gap, because what happens is if there's anyone on road bikes behind her, which I actually don't, I see a Tron there, but I don't see too many roadies, is she's got to get a bit of a gap just to be able to recover on the downhill, which is also gravel, before they hit the tarmac. And then she's basically back at that threshold effort, just having to hold 30 watts higher than those around her. Seeing a steamroller being dropped there on that bridge, just a bit of a tip for people racing. Best place to drop that steamroller is on the high incline dirt parts of this climb, so where it kicks up to sort of 10%. The bridge is okay, but it's flat, so probably not the best place. But Justine Barrow hitting up to 6.1 watts a kg there. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, really pressing the pace, and you can see the damage that's being done. This is every woman for herself type of a race out here today. I mean, full gas. And I believe the climbers like this are going to absolutely love this kind of a situation. But Nash now over the top, Team Rave, not necessarily expecting this from Rave. What a move coming in from Nash. Vine now on the response. Actually haven't seen Vine from the Vine show for quite a while, as they were off touring in Spain, obviously with Jay in the World Tour. So good to see the Vine Show showing back up here and representing for Arrow here. And as you said, though, the Steamroller, it really is the power-up of the day with how much speed you can gain through these dirt sections now. Barrow over the top. Looks like we have a 3-woman breakaway, though, with our it's actually it's going to be Arrow on the front, followed up by Rave there with Nash and Bree following the wheel at the back. So 2v1 for the rest of the day, perhaps.
Yeah, and look at that, 3 gravel bikes at the front. I mean, don't underestimate the power these women are holding, because on the flats, they have had to push at a threshold effort where those on the roadies could kind of relax a little bit in the bunch and not put out too much effort. But it just shows that this climb is where you're going to make the breaks. And we've got fastest time segment, which will most likely be taken on this first lap, and first across line coming over this QOM. So really, really brave and solid racing here from Nash, Barrow, and Vine. Looking at Nash there, she's the sort of one Rave rider amongst 2 Aero, and she took it, which I like to see, because it was 2 against 1 there, and these two have really broken away a little bit. Bree's up there with them, but 10 seconds back to Davidson from Rave. 14 seconds back to the rest of the group and then 26 seconds back further behind. This has absolutely splintered the field.
Yeah, completely blown things apart now. Davidson, I thought maybe was going to start fighting her way back, but I think at 12 seconds, it is not going to be happening. She's got Watson Vassal here on the chase alongside it, two Rave riders here. I'm not sure that Vassal's going to really make this jump. Well, she could jump across, but she's not going to be taking any pulls at this point because you do not want Watts alongside you for any of those sprint sections that will be coming up. Because remember, just because they've been dropped off by 16 seconds, there's plenty of points still up for grabs on the road out here with a lot of landscape to work with. You want to reserve energy for those key moments as far as the team tactics go today, Anna.
Yeah, and looking at Watts there, she's on that yellow Tron. Now, this is a perfect scenario for someone who should do a bike swap. So she's in a very, very small group. She's got 13 seconds to the group ahead. She's got 17 seconds to the group behind. On the flat, it looks like the two riders with her are on gravel bikes. Just looking at the tires are a little bit thicker. I think what they could do, she can get ahead, do a quick bike swap, get onto that dirt bike, and she'll be sitting pretty and probably catch up to Brie Vine and Justine Barrow ahead. Because they're teammates, they could just slow the pace down a little bit, let her get back on. So that's what I'd be looking at. And this is, riders, I've seen so many comments coming through watching this feed of what should the exact strategy be. The thing is, this one's got to be fluid. If you're in a group of 2 or 3, bike swap could totally work for you. If you're in a group of 20, probably won't because you're going to lose the draft immediately. So really depends on how your race plays out, and that's where you're probably going to need a pretty good DS to start calling the strategies.
Now in the men's race, apologies that we missed the first KOM and sprint, but we'll jump right on over there as they are just coming on through. They were just able to jump back in, and their things have completely blown apart. We're actually back in 12th place with Wallace here from NZ Bro Gandalf, looking to chase things down. Gallagher there from HKL as well. It's going to be Richard Law from the Alien Battlers here as well, a part of this splintered group behind. But up front, we've got this breakaway situation here with Team Arrow, NZ Bro Frodo. Bleakley's there also from Frodo. Ben Hill has made this front group with Ross and Arrow. O'Brien, of course, in there. One of the strongest threshold climbers we have seen in the world of Zwift racing. Tab along there from NZ Bro as well. So it's Arrow versus NZ Bro Frodo. And it was an early attacks from the gun. Interesting enough, though, as we look through here, I'm not sure I see a single gravel bike, or am I incorrect here? Is this
they're gravel. That's
they're all
that's
gravel,
a Canyon Grail.
perhaps.
Yeah,
Maybe it's just
all
that
gravel,
they're all gravel and I'm not recognizing it because I'm seeing the same size wheel width there, perhaps.
Yeah, so the good tell is the Grail, which I think is still the best gravel bike choice for this course, better on the uphill. It's got the two, what do you call it, almost like the two handlebars at the front, so it's kind of like a double view from the front of the handlebars. Looking at this group, though, this is nice. You've got Aaron Bleakley from NZ Bro. You've also got James Harvey, who I have not seen out racing in a while, and he is an absolute puncher. So great to see him up there. It looks like a real NZ Bro Aero battle at the front. I love it. Kiwis versus Aussies. Just this is what I like to see, and it looks almost even. Maybe 3 NZ Bro and 4 Aussie riders. So, this is good. I like seeing this as a Kiwi.
The current situation out on course for the points. Let's go ahead and see if we can take a quick look at that. And on the men's side of things, it looks like at the top we're going to see. Is that going to be Tanganon there, followed up by Amato, Cheb there, and then Hargreaves, Clues Proctor, Hamando. I believe this is without the KOM perhaps involved just yet, as we're going to wait for some updates to come on through. As I'm feeling, there's going to be a lot more to be coming on through for that climb. I believe this is just from the sprint point that was down lower. So as we head back on over toward the descent here in just a moment, Bleakley from NZ Bro Frodo, what's the situation? Do you think they're just going to work together as two teams here? It feels like they're not that interested in allowing one team or the other to put the efforts in. Who's chasing is going to be the question then, because Gandalf and allies, next gen, perhaps that's why we do see Arrow here really making the moves alongside of Frodo and not really in any infighting.
Yeah, we've got to look at that. We've got Alien Inc. there. We've got ZWC Allies. There we go. Look at that. It's the Trons and the Roadies. A lot of Scott Tarmacs there. There's one gravel, it looks like. The green hat rider has got the gravel. But look at how much this time will come down. They're already 5 seconds behind that group of gravel. And this is where it gets interesting because the gravel riders, they're just so slow on the tarmac. And these Trons are going to catch them up. They're working really hard. And look at that. This is exactly the kind of exciting racing you want with this kind of different divisiveness around bikes. You know, Nathan, that I hate that safe Tron choice. And this is why, it's because how exciting is it to show this kind of racing, which is absolutely bike dependent.
Yeah, if we look down at the helicopter view, you can actually see exactly what's going on when it comes to these bike choices with those Trons sitting in there. A couple of them really speeding things up toward the front. And if we take a look at the differences in speed here, 59, 58 kilometers per hour through this section, 55 as it levels out just a little bit. Not going to be getting those super tucks nearly as fast. And on these downhill sections, that's really going to matter. Look at the speeds coming from this pack behind. Absolutely flying through every one of these riders here now that are being caught up. They're going to have to kind of jump up out of the saddle to make sure that these speeds do not just drop them on this downhill.
Yep. And this is where teamwork becomes really important because if you've got a team who's kind of a 50-50 split between gravel and, say, a Tron, you can really start to either work together, have like maybe the Tron riders sit near the back, ensure that their gravel riders don't drop off, give them a little bit of a bungee cord, or you can have the Tron riders when the pinch comes up after the sprint and it goes into a tarmac uphill, those Trons can push the pace and absolutely make those gravel riders suffer because the gravel bikes are terrible on that tarmac uphill. So, yeah, this is a nice little mix now coming into lap number 2.
And it really matters when it comes to this next sprint section. You know, on the day here, if you're one of these riders that was able to make that second group, get back on terms, now you've got the responsibility on your shoulders, though, to take down the sprint points through the countryside sprint here in just a moment. That's going to be a really big ask for the team, and it's going to make sure that you're still on the board regardless of first across the line at the end of the day. These sprint points matter, and that's the tactic you talked about from a team perspective. This road bike situation or Tron bike situation here for these teams that have made it back to the front group of NZ Bro and Arrow that was off the front for a little while, they've got an opportunity here to maybe even drop some of those around the gravel. You know, they made it this first time around, but you know that you could put them under a little bit of pressure early on. They may catch back up, but there's a lot of ebb and flow here about how much energy is left in the legs for these riders after those drop-offs.
Yeah, and I mean, there was a good point made in the Prem Racing today, which was the bike choice determines when you're going to have a huge sort of solo attack, and it's driving massive attacks. And you know, Nathan, we were talking about it earlier, even the new draft means it's easier to get off the front. So if you've chosen a road bike, you can't just sit in the pack knowing you're going to get, you know, your ass handed to you on the hill. You need to go full noise attack on the tarmac to get a gap so that they can't catch you. And same goes for the gravel. You can sit in the pack here, but on that gravel part, you can't just sit in. You've got to use your bike choice and attack. So, I mean, you know, people are coming in with what bikes. It's really got to be what you're comfortable with, where you can attack. And that's what we're seeing now. You're going to probably see some of these Tron bikes and some of these roadies sprint over the upcoming sprint segment and then go for it on that climb leading up to the dirt. I haven't seen any bike swaps yet, so I still am going with, I know there was a bit of a division in the community between Sai, who said no bike swap, and then another YouTube video. Who said bike swap. So, no, it was Sherpa. Sherpa said definitely do the bike swap. Yeah. And I don't know. I think bike swap maybe for the C's and D's where the packs will whittle down and maybe be fewer riders. But in this case, oh, no way.
Yeah, I think the speed's just maybe a little bit too high amongst the AIDS category to actually get away with a bike swap. But jumping in with the ladies here, let's go and take a look and see where things are when it comes to the point situation. It looks like Watts here, followed up by Vine. That's going to be for, look at the difference. Well, not really that big of a difference. You got the KOM as well as the sprint point. Watts obviously taking down the fastest through segment as well as first across the line for a full total of 42 points. Not first place, but taking down some solid points there, as well as Bree Vine there. And that's going to be mainly, I think, from the Queen of the Mountain over the top, with Nash there with 40 points as well from the Queen of the Mountain. Barrow there coming over the top. It looked like, I believe she was in third across the line for that. Actually, second across the line, if I'm not incorrect, over the top there, as Bree got back on terms for that Queen of the Mountain. So as you can see, there is definitely a split right down the middle from the sprinters to the climbers out here today. Now, second lap, though, and the lap following, not sure it's going to be quite the same here, as I have a feeling we're going to have a much different situation with a whittled down pack. And without Emma Watson there, we're not going to see. Oh, actually, Watson's gotten back on terms. Excuse me. Davidson and Watts here back on terms. So obviously, this sprint section going to be contested again. These teams really keeping themselves in contention regardless of that climb.
Yeah, I mean, and looking at this, if I was Emma Watts, she's the only one in here not on a gravel bike. If I was her, I would go for the sprint and then I would attack it. Maybe try and get a 20-second gap and then do a bike swap. I think she can then mop up a whole lot of sprint points, get fastest time segment, get first across line, and then we know she's got the power, so get ahead, bike swap, and then get it all again on the QOM. If I was the DS in area, Tully, if you're listening, I would be saying that's always risky to do a bike swap, but this is probably a situation that I'd be doing it in.
Well, there is a reality that last time through, it didn't work out. Right? So, well, let's try something a little bit differently. What do you have to lose? Because if you were unable to hang on the climb, well, this time around, the best decision is you've got nothing to lose. You're not going to hang on. Now, the reality, though, is she did hang on with Davidson. She did hang on with, I believe Vassal was alongside her. So you could be sacrificing some points there to Davidson and Vassal. That would be a situation, because Rave may be able to grab a few of those first across the line points when it comes to the finish line then, or the Queen of the Mountain. So are you willing to risk those? And does she have the power to get 20 seconds up the road? Has she practiced the bike swap is going to be the other question. Like, was she even thinking about that? And at this point in the race, having a DS in your ear, you'd already have to have this in the playbook. So is it even in the playbook to take that opportunity?
And I've got to tell, I told my team to go practice bike swaps and not just go practice it with your heart rate at like 100, go practice it with your heart rate at 170, because it's like a transition in triathlon. You think you've got it down, but when your heart rate is sky high, you get the simplest things wrong. And that's what can happen when you're trying to push multiple keys all over the show. I ended up pushing about 4 wrong keys and the bike swap took me about a minute. So practice it at that high heart rate as well.
We actually had 2 off the front here for quite a while. It was going to be Harvey and O'Brien, and I missed this. That's completely my mistake there. Harvey here for Nunzibert Frodo, looking to try and take down this sprint way, way out here. But here comes Ross now from Arrow. Brian's just sitting on. I think Ross is going to take this down easily here with this drafting power up at 10.11 watts per kilogram. Is that a gravel? It is a gravel.
Yeah, pretty sure, yeah. Yep, double handlebar gives it away.
Allies come on through.
Wow.
Ben Hill right on the wheel there. And solid move there coming in from the Arrow rider now. Torben here now coming across Gallagher. It's going to be Ross going backwards very quickly. In the women's race here now, we do see it's going to be Watts easily taking this down on that Tron bike here, followed up by Brie Vine. And then it's going to be Nash right on the wheel. Will there be any separation here? Lots of drafting power-ups being thrown down. I have a feeling no gap is going to be opened up. And over the top immediately now, Nash drops right back down to 0.8. I think she's just trying to make sure her position is well while they wait for that next gravel section.
Yeah, and they're about to hit this sort of real draggy tarmac part up after the sprint. And this is where Emma Watts needs to go to the front and start pushing the pace and start to get that gap. Otherwise, she'll get dropped on the climb again. And the downhill is also dirt, so it's hard to catch up. Even on the down, you kind of don't get any recovery. So she needs to start pushing now. You can see her moving to the front. I just wonder if she will take this opportunity, because what's interesting is looking at the watts per kg of the riders around. When she goes to the front, you can just see the watts she's holding are kind of around that 2.5 for a second there. And a lot of the other riders are up around the 3.5. That just shows the difference between the gravel and the road bike. We do have a roadie off the front here, Houston from Rave. Looks like she's on a really basic Zwift setup, maybe a new rider. Be interesting to see what Aero's got in store here. Yeah, Canyon, that is not a good bike choice at all for this course. I probably would have just gone an entry-level gravel.
Interesting bike choice for sure here. Kind of a climber slash aero setup a little bit here, it looks like. Barrow now heading to the front, it looks like, on that gravel bike, as you can see. And solid effort. Well, not really pressing. Well, 4.2 watts per kilogram. Excuse me. I was looking at the watts here in the upper left-hand corner. 134 beats per minute. Now I have a feeling that heart rate's going to start coming up in just a moment. Houston now looking to follow it up, it looks like, from Team Rave on that Canyon with the basic Zwift wheels now. Rave trying to hold on. We saw this last lap. Barrow went to the front and just started hammering, not even on the dirt section just yet. In and amongst the men's race here, we'll jump on over and take a look because there is some attacks taking off the front. It's going to be Gallagher again here from HKL. This was the moves early on last time, and they actually already have an 8-second gap, and this is on the Tron bike. So this is exactly what you were just talking about. Is he looking for a bike swap perhaps? That may be exactly what's going on here because he's got almost that 10 seconds. It's a 12-second or so gap where we were told, but with O'Brien and Bleakley right there, I'm not sure this is going to work out real well for Galler because they are not on the same team. HKL here trying to make a move.
Yeah, this is good. I wonder how far he's going to be able to get ahead. Look at that difference in watts per kg, 5 versus 7.2. I'm pretty sure Gallagher is on a road bike, you'd have to say, because looking at that difference, it'd be interesting to see the speed difference there. It looks, unfortunately, like O'Brien does not have a heart rate monitor going, which is not great. That could end up in a disqualification for Mark O'Brien, which is devastating for Team Aero. And the Tron bike, he's catching on, though. That's showing very, very solid form from O'Brien. 8 seconds now. So if we stay on Gallagher here, this could be a bike swap scenario. Moving from the Tron to the gravel, lap number 2. This is what Sherpa Dave had talked about, and we might see this in action now.
He's got the time now at this point, but the problem is O'Brien is on that wheel. Does he just let O'Brien go, perhaps, and trust that this is going to work out in his favor to continue to break away? O'Brien here, the problem is he's on a gravel bike. So that means even if he does make the bike swap, there's a rider up the road that's got time on you that seems just like an insanely stronger rider, perhaps, that's on the better bike here at this point. So this kind of puts a little bit of a wrench in this, but 16 seconds now at this point. Gallagher still is in it for second, if not better, if he can catch back up to O'Brien. So solid move here coming in from HKL. And we've got a little bit of chatter coming on through here from the rest of the pack. Still a large pack behind here as we have 2 off the front.
18 seconds, 19 seconds now. It's got to be a bike swap of that Tron. It's got to be Gallagher going for that. So not sure if their DS is tuning in. It'd be good to know if that's going to be the strategy. We've got another Tron in there. Not sure what their game is because they're surrounded by gravel. They're going to get absolutely dropped like a stone coming up. The Alien Ink Riders caught back up. Originally over the climb, we just had NZ Bro and Aero, but looks like a few little stragglers have caught back onto this group as well, which is good to see. But obviously they got dropped for a reason last time around. They're going to be hitting this climb for the second time and not too far away. Looking at those points there, NZ Bro, so tab along there, leading with 36 points. That's a great ride. Ross, strong rider from Aero with Ben Hill as well, second and third there on points. And the other NZ Bro rider, I think, Tangonan, new pickup, 24 points.
Yeah, solid rides here so far. Aero really on the domination, I think, with the number of riders in the top 10. As you can see, it's mainly Aero. We do see NZ Bro, they're represented at the top. And then Amato and Tangana in there also representing out here today. So solid rides. Well, I think Aero, though, they have kind of solidified themselves at the top. Not any changes going to be happening in the men's standings overall for the day. So today is going to be all about bragging rights as to who takes the win, because Aero is still well represented up toward the front end of this this race here at this point. A little bit of a punch now as they make their way up toward the top, and toward the next section, toward the left-hand turn onto the gravel. And now the attacks are going to start coming fast and furious, because this is the section where you can really find some distance between yourself and the rest of the group. 33 seconds now at this point. Not sure they're going to see them again. No bike swap coming. The Tron here looking to just hang on to O'Brien, perhaps.
That's phenomenal. O'Brien's on the gravel, so this will be good to see because I think O'Brien is just going to end up rolling over Gallagher with that gravel bike. Looking at very high power numbers, though, coming from both of them just to stay there. 34 seconds. Man, this, I don't know if it's the new draft or just this course and the difference of bikes, but there are some huge gaps people can get when they attack off the front. Like massive. This morning in the women's prem race, 2 attacked off the front and they got a minute on a group behind. And I know the girls on the group behind are no joke. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on, if it's the draft or just this, but yeah, this is great. You're actually seeing solo attacks, or as we see here, double attacks happening off the front, 33 seconds already.
Now, a lot of energy was used in order to gain this gap with only 2 riders. And the reality here of Gallagher having to go up into 6 watts per kilogram here just to hold 24 kilometers per hour, 25 kilometers per hour, while O'Brien on the wheel at 4.9. This really is O'Brien's race here at this 31 seconds to hold on to. And then, as you said, roll over Gallagher because he's going to be able to reserve more energy than Gallagher can throughout this. But we've got riders like Harvey, Torben, the others here on this attack now, or even on the chase that could bring this back with multiple gravel bikes, all able to keep high speed. This race is not over because of that situation, because it's really O'Brien versus this pack, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm just looking at what team is Gallagher from, because HKL, what is HKL team? I'm not actually seeing many of his teammates are a bit further behind. So if we're looking at the team competition, it's great for Gallagher to be up there. He's a bit alone as an ex-teammates, sitting back in 22nd place and a few packs down the road. But we've got Aero sitting up there, NZ Bro, and then a Team ZWC, a couple of Alien Innovation riders. So this looks like a bit of a NZ Bro Aero head-to-head, which is great to see. But 26 seconds still up the road, and we've got Harvey here, James Harvey, an absolute hitter. He was up to 7 watts there. He's on a good little setup. Looks like the rider behind him might be on the Scott Addict, or is it the gravel bike? No, it's the gravel. It's got that double handlebar, the Grail, the Canyon Grail. You can obviously choose your bike color, which I absolutely love because you can mix it up and match it to your kit.
So what's going to happen here is Arrow's just going to sit on the wheels here of anyone from NZ Bro most likely and just follow, because they do not want to bring O'Brien back, and they want to get that first across the line for the race finish. The reality is, though, 10 seconds has already been taken out of the O'Brien lead. O'Brien now needs to just go solo. As I said, this is his race to lose because he is on that gravel. The speeds are going to be a lot different between himself and Gallagher. He's looking for that king of the mountain points here over the top. It's been brought back by 10 seconds. 30 seconds is a lot to bring back. And just with Harvey separating himself from the rest of NZ Bro, he can't do it alone. NZ Bro really need to put down a lot of power at the front. And O'Brien may have won this outright.
O'Brien, I mean, phenomenal. I'm nervous about the fact I don't see a heart rate coming through on screen. Makes me a little bit worried about his disqualification status, but he is having a phenomenal ride, and I've seen him in a lot of races. I've done a bit of commentary for the Australian Elite Racing, and yeah, Mark O'Brien, phenomenal rider, and always willing to put in some attacks and just spice things up a bit, which is so good to see. You can see just these groups behind. I do want to touch on just that smoky area we went through just here. If you're riding at a certain time and that sun comes through that smoky area, you actually can't see the riders in front of you really at all. Great place to attack if you've recommed the course, and you can just see a steamroller being dropped right in that smoky sort of part. And you can kind of go up the road with the people in the pack not really seeing that you've done that. So another little tip for racing coming up, if you see the light streaming in through the smoke, attack.
Ben Hill now on the attack. Solid 7 watts per kilogram. Look how quickly they brought Gallagher back. Look at this, 25 kilometers per hour. Gallagher here traveling along at 29 on the downhill as they come through at 35. It's only 15 seconds now at this point up to O'Brien. Gallagher going backwards so quickly. This is the race, I think, here at the front. It's going to be O'Brien here about to come through the King of the Mountain, but that may be all he really gets out of this, because here comes the rest of the pack. They're within sight at this point, and on this downhill with 4 riders working together all on gravels, Arrow now looking to put maybe just take the podium perhaps. Tabalong and Harvey need to hang on at this point, because I think Arrow trying to bridge across to their teammate.
Yeah, what have we got here? Ben Hill, very, very good threshold power. He's amazing. Got Torben there from Arrow as well. Then you got Harvey and Tabalong from NZ Bro. 5 seconds back, Wallace, also from NZ Bro, and Ross from Arrow, who was having a really good race. Kind of dropped off the pace just a little bit. And Gallagher, wow.
Gallagher coming back.
Backwards. Coming back, though. He went backwards on the climb, coming back on this downhill. Let's see how he goes when he gets on the tarmac, if he can bridge up to O'Brien and bring some of his other teammates with him.
Yeah, this is all coming back together. O'Brien's only 4 seconds up at this point. We've got a steamroller coming on through with Harvey, and NZ Bro going to chase down the Arrow rider here. And this really comes down to bragging rights on the day for sure for NZ Bro. Harvey alongside of Wallace may be able to make something happen here. Ross off the back by 5 seconds now, but it's really just going to be HKL with Gallagher. I'm not sure he's going to be able to make much happen here. We'll have to wait and see as he is on that Tron bike. If he can hang on all the way through, he may be able to take, we are finishing on the KOM though, so there's just the reality that we saw him get rolled halfway through, so not going to be most likely a whole lot that he can do here unless he breaks away on the lower slopes or on the flatlands on the tarmac perhaps. O'Brien now getting caught by Harvey, and perhaps NZ Bro going to try and make some moves in the later halves here. The pure endurance, well, not pure endurance, but the riders who've got a lot more endurance out here today. It's over an hour of racing most likely, and going to be a little bit more pressure after 2 times up over the top of that KOM.
Look at that, Gallagher right back up with that Tron bike, has caught back up, so it's a bit of a minority in this group of gravel, and he must be thinking now for the final race win, you've got to be thinking bike swap. I just really want to see it. He's got to do the bike swap. He's tried it twice. He's got nowhere near beating these people. He got caught and run over by about 5 races on gravel. He's got to be thinking now if he wants to win, you've got to do the bike swap, Gallagher. You just have to.
He's going to need to break away with a couple of sprints off the front, though, I think, on the lower slopes. As we jump back in over to Justine Barrow, she's looking for some points again over the top of the Queen of the Mountain. Nash here from Rave also following up there, 2 seconds behind. Bree Vine there again, following wheels. Hit the solid ride here for Arrow. It looks like Vassal now from Rave. 3 Rave riders. This is... I'm going to take a look here real quickly at the women's standings, because this is kind of interesting to me. Arrow here at 139 points, but Rave All Night are, they're 5 points behind. I don't think they're not gonna take this down today for the standings. But the reality is they are really putting Arrow on the back foot in this final race.
Yeah, they're doing well. Rave is, they've come to party in this last race. I mean, there's nothing to lose. Looks like they'll still make the playoffs from this group, being in the top 2. So trying to get some race experience. Nice little sprint here between Bree Vine and Nash. Bree Vine, though, should be tough to sprint. So she takes that one. It looks like she's gone second behind her teammate for those across the line points. And is it Katrina Nash? She's just behind her. So those 2 will go away. And you can just see in the distance, Davidson and Vassal, 7 and 8 seconds back, just desperately trying to catch back up on this kind of long downhill, which some parts you can super tuck, but on a gravel, very, very tricky to do.
Yeah, definitely a little bit more difficult to get the speeds up to that 57 kilometers per hour, as it is going to be Barrow here at 3.8. Barrow's not waiting up. That's no joke when it comes to the watts that she's throwing down here and the speed that she's trying to hold. We're 10 seconds back. It looks like the Arrow rider here still trying to make things difficult. And I think the reason for that is the reality of Davidson and Vassal on the chase, as well as Houston. That's almost a 3-woman group. I believe Houston maybe going to sit up at this point and say, if you want to go with the rest of your team, you're going to have to come across. Again, Watts is here. No woman's land, though. She doesn't have any bodies to work with here at this point. Back in 8th place. And I think this time it might be said and done for Emma Watts.
I do want to give a shout out to Vassal, I think it is. She's on a very sort of entry level setup, the Canyon road bike with some pretty shallow wheels. I think was a Vessel or maybe it was Davidson who was back. But yeah, I did notice that the rider I'd called out before.
From Rave.
Houston, there we go. I'd called her out before for being on a very entry-level setup, but she's obviously got some serious power to be able to stay with these riders. That's very good work. So good job, Houston. Pushing a pretty high cadence there as well and a pretty high heart rate. So this is a downhill that doesn't look like it's much of recovery.
Now, looking at these two on these bikes specifically, I said it was said and done, but there is a reality here that all of the riders ahead are on gravel bikes, if I'm not incorrect. So because of that, we most likely will see Houston and M get back on terms. Watts here on the Tron bike. I also said it was said and done for her, but she's on a rampage here. She'll get back on terms. And again, we may see when it comes to the team situation here on the women's side of things, Brie Vine, but Watts is still, look at this, 56 points. She's completely involved in this race. She keeps getting dropped, but it's all about the sections today. Amazing job here from Emma Watts, as well as Brie Vine for Team Aero, really on the domination. Rave are all in that top 10 standing still, as you can see, but Aero stacking the top when it comes to Barrow coming over the top of the Queen of the Mountain, and Watts taking down the sprint as well as Brie Vine.
Yeah, this is great to see. And I know I keep going on about the bike swap, but you'd have to say it's almost perfect timing to go for it on this lap because you've got it finishes at the top of the climb. What have you got to lose? So I'm hoping to see a bit of that action coming up in both the men's and the women's races because you can see some of the men as well. We saw O'Brien and Ross there. You got to look coming into this last lap. Massive strategic decisions. If you're on that fast road setup, go for some more first across line points at the sprint. You can see there Gallagher, he is broken away in that picture.
That's what we were talking about, Anna. Let's go on over to the men's race here. We'll get back with the women with the catch, as I think it's going to be happening with those behind. But Gallagher, he's trying to make it happen. What you talk about, Anna.
Yeah, he's got to do it. Look at this. He's riding. He knows he can get away on that setup a lot easier than the other riders can. And there's been a lot of good chat coming in across on YouTube as well that this new draft is making attacks way easier to actually get away and stay away. Obviously, there's a little bit of stickiness that's kind of gone away in the new draft. And I know some people are happy about it, some people aren't, but I think it just makes racing way more exciting that this is actually happening. I'm watching the Prem racing earlier today. Wow, like both the men's and the women's, these attacks were happening all the time and they were getting off the front. It was just so good to see.
Yeah, the reality is that the new drafting algorithm completely changes things as far as how easy it is to stay in the position that you are in the pack. You end up with a lot more infighting for position. And because of that, a lot of energy can be wasted with the churn, as well as you've got to fight for position toward the front. And if riders start going off the front, you can't really get around or push past riders quite as easily. Covering moves becomes way more like in real life racing, finding those positions. So because of that, I have a feeling we're going to see a lot more breakaway situations. We're going to see riders really being able to differentiate when it comes to the power levels that we do have from each of the riders. You just can't hide quite as easily. You may be able to hide where you're at as long as other riders aren't fighting you for that position, but if they're pushing more watts, they're going to push you out of the way and take over those positions in the pack. So big changes when it comes to that. Now we've got 11 seconds here with Gallagher off the front, and at 5.7, and Ross there from Aero, they're only at 3.1. He is going to get a monstrous gap. The question is, how much of a gap and what kind of pace can he push if he does the bike swap, or will he stay on that Tron bike and trust it to the top?
Yeah, and you've got to, I remember doing a video on this maybe 2 seasons ago. If you're a rider from a team that isn't in that main group, so the main group is all NZ Bro and Aero, this is an HKL rider. Their closest teammate is, way back down the road. So he can get away and be given a bit of a leash because it really is the NZ Bro Aero show behind him. So great kudos to Gallagher because he's actually used that small team advantage to make this break. And I just don't think the others are super motivated, although we do see O'Brien here going up to about the orange numbers, 8, 9 watts a kg. I think they're going to start to reel him in. They didn't like that 15-second gap. Maybe they've heard me saying that 15 seconds is the magic number that someone considers start to stay away. O'Brien looks like he's gone to the front and is pushing pretty hard. Harvey, though, I've got to say, marking every move of O'Brien.
And bro, definitely marking those moves there. Harvey is their man today, as well as Wallace there from the Gandalf team. We do see a lot of orange numbers being punched here behind now at this point. So perhaps, as you're saying, well, I think maybe a little bit of attacks, though, is actually what's going on here. As we've got Harvey off the front. Enzebro Gandalf here looking to maybe stay involved or just follow the wheels there of the rest of the Arrow team. Tabalong there off the back from Enzebro just following. It looks like maybe going to see a counterattack coming in just a moment as Gallagher continues. And that infighting, as you saw, it brought things back to 15 for a moment, and then bam, it goes back down to 3.8 as they look at each other. Gallagher with the consistency on the Tron bike, keeping it out to 20 seconds. What do you think it's going to go up to here, Anna? He's about to hit that sprint section. It'll probably come down a little bit from the sprint, but then they've got the climb immediately, and I have a feeling that pack behind might settle down after the sprint section.
Yeah, unfortunately, he does have some really good sprinters, and that's where we saw big gaps just coming down. O'Brien there, he's hitting orange numbers. Ross, great sprinter from Aero. So, yeah, I think I agree. It might come down a little bit. It's already up to 22 seconds. I think it could come down to, say, 10 seconds, and then on that climb, he's just got to really put in the gas. Looking at what happened in the women's race, it was after the sprint, and on the climb, it ballooned that gap from about 30 seconds to about a minute. So let's see what happens here. He is approaching the sprint. It's a very, very tricky sprint to time because it's only 100 meters long. You almost have to start a bit early. And it looks like that's what these riders are doing. Orange numbers coming everywhere. And it looks like, who is that? Ross coming over the top. Bit of a little early attack there. Haven't seen many orange numbers from him though. Gap still up around 22 seconds.
Ross now 7.2 watts per kilogram, 47 kilometers per hour. Tabalong looking to come across here, it looks like. Gallagher's going to take down the first across the line. Not the fastest through segment, though, as he continues to try and roll away with this gap. Ross now continuing on at 187 beats per minute here. 490. I think he may fade, perhaps. No. It looks like the rest of the riders not that interested at this point or just unable. Hill looking to come across now. He's got 12 watts per kilogram. It looks like Hill is going to take this down on the gravel versus gravel, it looks like out here today. And that's going to be second place, though. Backing right on off. That's going to be the situation most likely. Look at how separated this is. It's completely
O'Brien gone off the back.
This is surprising. What is going on with Mark O'Brien?
That is, I think just, I've got to say, trying to keep up on that gravel bike. You see the gap there. It's almost impossible to come back from that. It was so hard. Apparently, Kristen Kolchinsky said that it was like riding through mud on the tarmac, on the gravel. You had to be so astute and so aware of everything that was happening around you in the pad, because as soon as you got off, you just didn't have that same ability to kind of feel the smoothness of the road bike to get back on. And I think that's what we're seeing with O'Brien. He's having to push 6 watts a kg just to get back onto this group. And I assume that's not a teammate that's just pushing pace as he's getting back on. That's pretty ruthless.
Ross now backs off, maybe recognizing exactly what you're saying here. Wallace Medzebro coming up over the top now. Gallagher on the climb for the tarmac, up to 22 seconds here at this point on the Tron bike. He's out of sight at this point, Anna. You know, okay, he gets us out to 30 seconds. The question is he on PC? Right? The question is he on a quick swap? Because if he's not, that 30 seconds could disappear so quickly. So does he stay on the Tron all the way through? This is going to be the question of the day. If it were me, I'd be swapping as quickly as I possibly could. It would be scripted, to be honest. I would be just click, 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 and go. We'll see what ends up happening here, though. This is going to be the question.
If he doesn't swap, he's going to get rolled over by all the gravel bikes anyway, unless he's got a steamroller up his pocket. But that only lasts for 30 seconds. This is a long climb. What other option do you have here? You're going to get rolled over. You're going to get beaten.
He did get rolled over with 30 seconds. He did get rolled over, and he had 30 seconds the last time over the top. So I think you're right here, and I don't think he has a choice.
No, I think he has to. I mean, we're getting comments coming in now. Do the swap. What bike could he change to? There's nothing near the Tron in the garage, but you just have to scroll. You just got to scroll, know exactly the bike that you want, where it is. Click on that. Everyone wants to see the swap. So let's see if he's going to do it. He's got, what's he got here on Ross? 23 seconds. Ross is pushing pretty hard, but not hard enough, I don't think.
We've got some great comments coming on through here now. Which bike can he change to? Nothing. Yeah, that's the other thing is he's on the Tron bike. So what you choose for a bike for the swap also kind of changes things up as well. I mean, that's an interesting take. I mean, how many seconds do you really lose though with that? I guess it could be up to 5, I would think, scrolling around, messing around here. And has there been any practice going on? Now the orange numbers are starting to pop behind because Tabalon can see that he needs to get across to Ross as Ross starts to get the break happening here now. And then it's going to be O'Brien. O'Brien making it back, interesting enough. And Wallace, Hill, Torben, and Harvey here now getting dropped from Frodo.
It's almost like these gravel bikes can't draft. It's just like these guys can't stay in a little bunch together. It keeps stringing out and stringing out and stringing out. So I think that's what it's just the lack of acceleration on this bike. It just kind of doesn't have that same pep to it. Whoa, that was a big random attack. A big pep to it on the road. So that if there's a little gap like this, it takes you so long to respond as opposed to when you're on a road bike. So I think that's what we're seeing with the gravel here. This is why it keeps getting strung out.
That's a great point, actually. We did see with O'Brien earlier, he doesn't really have a punch as well. So a little bit of a tip out there that if you get really punchy with your accelerations, that may be the way to break the gravel bikes. Even if you're on a gravel bike yourself on the road sections, it's a little bit similar to when I'm out on any kind of gravel section. The second that we hit gravel or cobbles, I'll punch a little bit because I know that the rest of the avatars are slowing down and I'm accelerating then at that point in order to cause a little bit of a gap. And it's a lot more difficult for a rider to come back quickly to my wheel. You can put them on the back foot as you lead away with that kind of power. So a little bit of a tip there. It looks like good pickup there on how these bikes function, Anna. Jumping on over to the women's race, they're about to hit the next sprint section. It's all Grupo Compacto. And again, Emma Watts, and Brie Vine, they've just been allowed to hang out here. I don't even know if allowed. They're on these bikes that just can come back in and get involved. Brie, interesting enough, though, being on a gravel bike, able to stay involved here. But I think Watts most likely going to be able to take this down. Here comes Rave over the top, though. Vassal.
That is phenomenal. She's punching above her weight, but look at this, Emma Watts. There is no doubt about it on that Tron. She is absolutely smoking this sprint. She's got it dialed. Very, very tricky sprint. Like I said, it's short, it winds. You kind of don't know when to go, but she timed that to perfection. They're dropping riders off the back here too. Look at Aero. Looks like a little bit of a counter here coming from M. Dot off the front. They're dropping off a couple of riders there. Nash from Rave. They're dropping Justine Barrow, though, which is unfortunate, and she's going to bring Houston up with her.
Just taking a look here real quickly.
Didn't swap. Oh.
No swap.
Devastated.
No swap from devastation. Anna Russell is devastated as there was no swap coming in from Gallagher. Just continues on the Tron bike. We'll see if the prediction happens that he's just going to get rolled. We'll have to wait.
I want him to get rolled now.
I have like cookie dough in my head, and Anna's just got a rolling pin like over the top of Gallagher. Like, dude, you're gonna get cooked now with chocolate chips as well. Come on, man, Gallagher. Where's the swap? No swap.
What is it that Roglic says? No risk, no glory. Come on, you got to risk it. You got to risk it for the glory.
I thought he was talking about cookies too. I'm only thinking about cookies now at this point.
You need to go eat a cookie.
Jumping back in with the men's race, actually, let's head on over as the ladies are going to go Grupo Compacto for a moment, it looks like, until they hit the climb proper in just a moment here. It's going to be Gallagher off the front by 40. No, wait a second. 30 seconds got rolled. 30 seconds got rolled. 44 seconds? 45 seconds? They're kind of messing around here a little bit. O'Brien, though, On the rage, it's going to be Gallagher 6.3 watts per kilogram as they hit this left-hand
Look how
turn for
slow
Gallagher.
that looks, though.
It does look
How
so
it looks
slow.
like it
24,
looks terrible.
30 kilometers per hour. I think you're right here,
Yeah.
Anna. I mean, you can't stay away at those kind of speed differentiations.
Yeah, you can visibly see it being slower. And I don't know if you noticed that, I think it was Ross, or no, Wallace, who was up there with O'Brien. Wallace was on the Scott, so not a gravel bike, and he's gone. He is out the back riding at 6.1. He was dropped like a sack of potatoes. He's dropping that steamroller in the back too late. It's way too late there. He might get back on terms, but he'll get pushed again by these gravel bikes. Won't be able to do much damage there. He'll get dropped again. So unfortunate for Wallace. I do want to see, he's got an Australian flag, but he's riding for NZ Bro. So there's an interesting story there. He's riding some huge numbers, heart rate of 181. Massive to get back on, but sayonara, Aero Riders up the road. They've picked the right bike. They are now 38 seconds behind Gallagher. 36 seconds. Whew.
Yeah, and this is coming down so quickly. We just lost 10 seconds in about a half a kilometer. So Gallagher, at this point, I think it's just a question of when and not whether or not he is going to get rolled. The cookie dough Gallagher coming back to the pack soon enough. We'll see if he can take the King of the Mountain points, perhaps. Hold on to that point. But as soon as it rolls downhill, those gravel bikes behind are going to come flying up. And if I were them, I'd go right over the top of them. I would attack the moment I hit Gallagher's wheel.
So the only thing Gallagher could have up his sleeve, which is what we saw in the Prem men's, is a steamroller. So if these riders catch up near the end of this climb, he could drop that steamroller and still put in a sprint, because it kind of flattens out and goes into more of that bridge kind of terrain near the end. So that is the only Hail Mary he has to be able to win this. 30 seconds though.
30 seconds and holding on. He is holding on. And I forgot. My apologies, everybody. There isn't really a downhill. As you did say, it's a little bit of a flat, but it's a finish at the top here. So they need to get on it. I don't know, Anna. He may have done this. This is really getting close now. You can see in the course profile in the upper right-hand corner here. It's not in sight on the map. Well, actually, it's in sight on the map. It's right island. There. A couple of more turns, and he could make this happen. 36 kilometers per hour. Ross now from Arrow here, 26. Now it's going to flat out in a second. Here comes a steamroller, though. And now the speeds are going to start picking up. I would start sprinting. With these guys, I would be working as hard as I could in succession of each other. They need to start taking poles like maniacs. It's nothing but Arrow at this point.
Do you know what? And this is what I saw in a race that I creepily went and watched over the weekend, is Gallagher, even though he's on the Tron, he has not had to work as hard on the road. He was working hard to get away from them, but those gravel bikes would have felt terrible on the road. And every time they're on tarmac, they're riding at threshold to stay in that group. And I think this is what you're saying, is that it's just a race of attrition now. They just do not have the power now to catch back up. It's easy for us to say, just put in a huge effort, you'll get there. I think they've already had to put in a huge effort just to stay up on the tarmac. So,
finish line almost
this is
in sight.
A little bit different to what I thought. I think he might have it. If he gets this, I will never say a bad word about the Tron again. If he gets this.
That is a huge... are you actually going to stick to that, Anna? Really?
Yeah,
I mean, he's gone.
Yep.
He's gone. This is over, I think, Anna. I think there's not another bad word coming from Anna Russell about the Tron bike ever again. I mean, we just have that on live broadcast. Better clip it, everybody, because it sounds like the Tron is Anna's new favorite bike out on Zwift.
There we go. I'm a woman of my word, and I'll appreciate the Tron has taken it out. I mean, also Gallagher. Obviously, he's had the power and the ability to do this. Amazing job from Gallagher. Chapeau. Phenomenal, taking out the last race of the series.
What a move by Gallagher. Taking it down. 18 seconds up at this point. It's going to be O'Brien versus... it's going to be Brian versus Ross. Brian just going to let Ross take that down, actually. Brian going to 0 watts per kilogram. He must be absolutely suffering. And then it's going to be Hill. It is a little bit past, I believe, the official KOM over the top here. Torben here now across the line, it looks like. Actually, these guys are stopping before it's actually finished. It looks like some of them here. But that's going to be it for the coverage of the men's race. Let's head on over to the women as they are making their way toward their... I'm not even sure O'Brien actually finished the race yet. He just letting riders roll past him, actually, as I'm looking at the feed here. Actually, no, he has. Excuse me on that. But now jumping over to the women's race here. They haven't hit the dirt yet. And the question for me here, is anybody going to give it a go? I don't think so, as Watts is still involved.
Yeah. What have we got here? 145 beats a minute. She's not pushing it. I don't really know what her game plan is here. Maybe it was just to get sprint points because she's obviously got a whole lot of those. But I don't know. You got to go ahead. 143 beats a minute. She's cruising. She could push that up a lot, make the others suffer significantly. But she's kind of lost her opportunity now. They've topped out at that climb. They're now on the dirt. And see you later, Watts. And I think I'm going to call it Justine Barrow will probably take this out just from how we saw her go on the first time up the climb.
Nash with 4 riders here. If I were them, I would just go on the full gas attack at this point. I mean, like, what do you have to lose at this point? And have some fun with it, perhaps. We'll see if they do make that move. We did see Nash alongside Vine and Barrow making those attacks early on. We'll see if we see a repeat of that. Justine Barrow was first one over the top of the Queen of the Mountain last time around. We'll see if she can make that happen again. Watts hanging on strong here. And perhaps a steamroller would be the only thing if she can hang on. I think, though, the moment that it gets into those 8% gradients, most likely not. She's obviously done her work for the team, though, so far. 75 points. Really, you got to finish, right? That's the thing. You have to finish on the day in order for those points to be there. Why not finish sooner than later? And I think that's what Watts is up to. Now pressing the pace, though, to 5.6, up to 171 beats per minute, though, Anna. And I have a feeling that that's going to be raising the heart rate up a little bit quicker than some of that are on the gravel today.
Yeah, I just wonder if Justine Barrow, her teammate, could have just been doing a bit of the slow down the pack behind strategy, because I did see her on the front, not riding too hard. She went to the front now. Yeah, that's what she's doing. She went to 6 watts, got to the front, dropped down to 3, went up to 6, then dropped a little bit. So it looks like they're mucking around with that pack behind, just letting their teammate get ahead, and she's got the steamroller. This is great. She might actually, I don't think the Tron can do it 2 races in a row. Because she's just not got the gap that we saw earlier. But Justine Barrow is doing a great job to muck up that pack behind, that's for sure.
She's got 5 seconds and it's going out. I mean, she's got 5.2 watts per kilogram. If she's got a full watt per kilogram more than the rest of the riders here for the rest of the... It's almost... Look at how strong this power-up is. That's 10 seconds immediately. And they're all on gravels. It's like faster than the mountain bike through this section, it seems.
Yeah,
and if you're going to do a bike swap, it would have to be I didn't even think of that. It would be to the mountain bike, actually, rather than to a gravel.
Apparently it's heavier. Apparently it's heavier, a bit too heavy for this climb. Better on that downhill part. But I'm just staring at these watts.
So is that at A level? Is that at A level powers though? Like, how was that tested?
Well, Cy Bradley said that it was a bit too heavy. He had times for all the uphills, mountain bike v gravel v roadie. Mountain bike was great on the downhill, phenomenal, but just not as good on the uphill. Not as terrible as a road bike, but not as good as the gravel.
Interesting. Got it here. So now Watts here, 6.1, 15 seconds. And the chase here only at 4.8. If she pulls this off on the Tron bike, this is going to be double Tron victory here for the first community race. Davidson from Rave now heading to the front. She's at 18 kilometers per hour. 18 kilometers per hour at 8% gradient at this point. Now, 15 seconds is not 35 seconds. So there's not a lot of wiggle room here. This may come right down to the line if Rave can get organized here. The reality is, though, it'd be really different if this was like Rave and a couple other teams, but this is Rave versus Arrow, and I think only two Rave riders can really put much of an effort in here, perhaps. I'm not sure they're going to get a lot out of Vassal. They're not going to get anything out of Houston, who's on a road bike, actually. Now, Barrow here, as you said, messing it up for him now. Brian as well. Brie Vine as well.
Bree's
so
doing
Rave.
Look at that. They are playing it. They look at every time. I've just been obsessed looking at these numbers. Every time Brie or Justine get ahead of this Rave rider, they slow her down. And it is, I mean, my team does this all the time because it's really fun. It can really muck up the chase, as you're seeing here. Watts 15 seconds ahead. They'll move a bit to the front, drop the speed. Everyone gets stuck behind them. It's such a good strategy and a great teamwork.
So this is a great comment coming on through here from Colin Swan saying Watts used the Tron to rest on the tarmac to go all in on the hill, and it looks like that's exactly what's going on here.
Yeah.
She's reserved. Now, okay, my question there is it a reservation? I guess there is the reserving in the section that's coming up, right? But it's not necessarily reserving if you don't have a lot of endurance. Now, Watts, I think, is a great rider in real life as well, has a lot of endurance experience. So because of that, it's a rider who can go hard twice, rest up, get some energy back in the legs, and have another effort to give. If you're not the kind of rider that has that kind of endurance in the legs, you may just end up wasting a ton of energy up front over those first two climbs. So a little bit of different situation there. Now it looks like Barrow here looking to just drop everybody else.
Yeah.
And she may bring Watts back super quickly, actually.
Yeah, they must be teammates, but that was perfect work from Justine Barrow there. So if you're a teammate who wants to catch back up, drop the pack, you can't just sort of roll over with a high turn. You'll pull everyone with you. She did that perfectly. She used a feather, dropped some orange numbers, broke away from the pack massively. Look at that. Like we've seen all night is people are able to get away and stay away. And she might catch up. There she is in the background. I think she'll end up catching up.
She just shut down.
6 seconds back.
That was 13 seconds. Boom, gone. Just nothing, like nothing. So they're about to hit the Queen of the Mountain, though. It's almost within sight. We can see in the upper right-hand corner here. It's going to be a left-hand turn. Barrow barreling down on her teammate at this point. Arrow going to go 1-2, but Watts is going to do it.
Nice.
She held on to the line. Amazing work here from Emma Watts. Tron bike does it again. Your new favorite bike, Anna.
It is. There we go. The yellow Tron. Won both races.
1, 2, 3. Team Arrow domination here. Nash now, it looks like, going to come on through for 4th, but off the podium. Rave there in for 5th as well. Davidson for 6th, and then it's going to be Houston rolling through for 7th place for the women's A category. That's the racing out here so far for APAC. Amazing job. Actually, we may be able to jump around just a little bit, being our final race here in the Zwift Racing League for the this first season. We're in with race number 8, obviously, but I may be able to jump around just a tad in and amongst some of the other races, but we'll see if we can find some of the B races and the C races as we jump across. Anna, though, this has been absolutely tons and tons of fun to watch here. As you said, one of the best races that we've seen, both in the Premier Division as well as the community side of things, and a little bit surprising out here today. We had talked a ton about what bike. I don't think we said Tron once. Well, I think you may have said Tron one time before we went live.
Yeah. I'm being really careful because my team is racing tomorrow, and I am trying not to give away too much about what we're doing. But yeah, it's I think the biggest lesson I'd say from people that are watching is you've got to go with your team strengths, and you've got to pick a mix that is going to work the best for team points. So I don't think it's all going to be everyone on gravel or what's the fastest. It's going to be like, okay, our team is strong at this and our team is good at that. So this is what we're going to kind of mix up. And if, say, 2 riders are really good technologically and they can do really quick bike swaps, that's fantastic. If you've got a few who aren't, or in the case of Emily Watts, what I liked there is that sometimes you've got a rider on your team who's just better at climbing than everyone else. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter if they're on a gravel or a Tron. They're just going to do better on that climb, and they're just going to win it regardless. So chuck them on the Tron. They can just ride easy on the road and go full noise. And that's what we saw there with Watts. And then she managed to lap up a whole lot of those sprint points as well. So, yeah, I mean, there's just not one answer. That's my tip. There's just not one answer. You've got to look at the whole picture.
What you really need to take your strengths and play to them as best as you possibly can, it sounds like. And, you know, what I really like about this course and it being the final race in this season for the Zwift Racing League is the introduction of what WTRL has done with these points is exactly all about that. That this course brought out in an awesome way that this is a team competition. Some of the other courses really played to certain strengths, but this one played to, there was a King of the Mountain, Queen of the Mountain, there was a sprint section, and then there were these sections of course that you could really play to your strength depending on what bike you chose as well. So there were so many factors. And the fun thing to me about that is it's really bringing out the gaming side in a cycling way though. You know, that's the fun thing is finding where does gaming fit with Zwift Racing in a way that's still about fitness, that's still about how much power you have on the bike, but at the same time, some gamification that you have power over where you can excel in whatever genre of cycling that you enjoy, whatever your strengths are in cycling. Very cool to see. Not just a random number generator, not just pull, the slot machine and figure out what you can do on that gamification. We're not looking for that kind of gamification. We're looking for something where you use your talents, bring them to the table, and you got some control over those random numbers.
Yeah, and I've got to make a call out to Cy Bradley and also Sherpa Dave because I watched both their videos over the weekend. And that's what's coming into the community too, is you can go in as a DS, as a rider. There's awesome resources out there. People are reconning the course. Teams are leading recons. So, I mean, when we first started this, Nathan, it was just sort of like any other race league. People turned up and raced. Now you've got this wrap around every week. So you finish a race, suddenly there's recon videos going up for the race next. There's teams who are leading recons and having groups all come together. And yeah, it's phenomenal. It's just growing every single little pocket of Zwift racing.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the results here of what we just watched. I'm just going to try and jump across, but we're unable to get across to some of the other categories at the moment, everybody. So let's go ahead and see how things ended up playing out, what we just saw here. On the men's side of things, we did have Mike Gallagher there with HKL on that Tron bike, making it Anna's favorite bike in game again here. Matthew Ross come on through 16 seconds back. Mark O'Brien there in third place, 19 seconds back for Team Arrow. Team Arrow going second, third, and fourth with Ben Hill. It's going to be Torben Parchard Madsen in fifth. James Harvey there for NZ Bro Frodo, followed up by Tabalong from NZ Bro Frodo there. Matthew Wallace for NZ Bro Gandalf. Richard Law for Innovation Alien Battlers. He was in the group behind, able to outsprint Ben Ruth, also coming from Frodo. I'm going to check and see. I believe the Bees should have some results up on, and then there they are with WMZ, Anna.
Yeah, that's a long race, over an hour 9 from Jeff Morton. Annie Simmons, seriously. Wow, that's an amazing race from her. That's phenomenal. William Pratt from NZ Bro, Sean Blackie from NZ Bro, David Hogan from Velo Club, he's in 5th. Gray Skinner from Dirty Sprockets with his teammate Ed, they're 6th and 7th. Ian Maynick from WMZ in 8th. Adam Evans in 9th from the AHDR Barracudas. And 10th is Cameron Jose from Aero Press. Looking at the C's there as well, we've got Will Swan from MRR, Matthew O'Brien from Aerobics, like aerobics, I like that. Stephen Nowicki from Evo Suns, Andrew Atkinson in 4th from HDR Chargers, 5th was Dan Stork from TBR, 6th Darren Lee from WMZ Chasers, 7th Andy Kyote from AHDR Chargers, Corey Driscoll in 8th from MRR, Alex Murphy 9th from TBR, and Dunk Mega rounding out in 10th from Tune Bikeworks 1.
And in with Scott Macon from AHDR Drop Bears across the line there, followed by James Salafia there from WMZ Dodgers. It's going to be Shane Bamford there across the line. Is that the full minute back? So it looks like we actually had a breakaway of 2 off the front there for AHDR and the WMZ. That's going to be Matt Sayers there for WMZ Dodgers in 4th there. Is Ciclo, or is it? Yeah, I think it's going to be Ciclo Killers, followed up by from Chris Smith for the Ciclo Kickers. Andrew Fernerin there also for the Killers there. It's going to be Malcolm Wade there for the Ciclo Killers in 7th place. Brendan Clark there for HD Drop Bears. It's going to be Michael Hamilton from HDR Diesels. And then Daniel Soria from the WMZ Dodgers. The Drop Bears, that's an interesting thing for the rest of the world here, Anna. Do you know about Drop Bears? Because I had no idea about Drop Bears until Kate told me that I need to watch out if I ever come down to the lands down under.
And that's a total piss take, right?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I found some large-fanged koalas when I brought the images up. So I had nightmares all night about the drop.
That's awesome.
Real quickly, this is the point situation here. Tab along there for NZ Bro. Hill, Ross, Patriot Madsen, and O'Brien there. They take 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th for the points across the line. Now, this is for just the preems out there. Actually, we probably shouldn't even show this, actually, because I don't think this includes the points when it comes to the finals. I'm going to have to check in, actually, with WTRL about that in our table there. So we'll wait on that, actually. Let's just jump in with the ladies here. Take it away. Emily Watts there, Anna.
Oh, she won it on that yellow Tron for Aero 1. Great result from Emily Watts. Justine Barrow, teammate, also a great sprint up in 2nd. Brie Vine in 3rd. That was a total wash from Aero. Clara Nash, Rave All Night in 4th. 5th, Rose Vassell, Rave All Night. And then her teammate, Dana Davidson, in 6th from Rave All Night. And Jess Hewson, Rave All Night. That's a great result. She was on that Kenyan, for what I remember. Miranda Bennett from the Flyers in 8th. Sarah Alexander, Rave All Night in 9th, and Jenny Pettinen from Aero 1 rounding out in 10th. Great job from Aero 1 there. Be surprised if they didn't take that out.
And in the B's, it's going to be Lamb Combe for the HDRL Bullets at 1:20.09. Long day of racing here. Lucy Esdale for TBR Smile on B at 45 seconds back. So it looks like Lamb Combe. Be interested to see what Lamb was riding out there today, as that's a solid 45-second gap. Really a lot of separation, actually. Looks like it was a suffer bus here all the way to the top of that final KOM. Sky Talbot coming on through for 3rd. Holly Dieppe there for 4th. Michelle Bond there for the Bullets there in 5th. Natasha Williams in for 6th for TBR Smile On. It's going to be Liz Hall for the Bullets, followed up by Kate Braderick there for the Bullets as well in 8th. Bam Babes in for 9th with Kylie Adar. And it's going to be Melinda Cockshut there coming on through for 10th place for the Bombshells.
And for the C category, Sharon Boyd, Raven Mad, she won it. Emily Swales from TBR Smile On, love that team. They're in 2nd. Trudy Stevenson from the Aero Stingers in 3rd. Ivana Chichali for TBR Smile On in 4th. Tanya Launder, Aero Stingers. She's a great rider, actually. I think she's an Olympic rider for Australia. That's phenomenal. Danielle Blake from HDRL Caramellos in 6th. Camilla Belstead, teammate for the Caramellos in 7th. Debbie Solms for the What Cookies, HDRL, in 8th. Oriole C for the Caramellos in 9th. And Sharon Blegg, a Raven Mad, in 10th.
And last but not least, it's going to be the D category here for APAC Div 1. Claire Rollinson coming on through for the Daiquiris, HDR Daiquiris. It's going to be Semma Faulkner there for the herd of Bilbies. 48 seconds back. So solid ride here for Claire. Carol Fulton there for the HDRL Daiquiris as well. 126 back from the win. Sadie Jones in 4th for herd of Bilbies. Shona McAlpine for the Diamonds coming in for 5th. It's going to be Carilli Carberry there for Z-Sun Kist in 6th place there. Mary Swindles, HDR Diamonds in 7th. Andrea Robinson for the Dynamos in for 8th place. Joanna Lease in for Raven Divas, and in 10th place, it's going to be Suzanne Lindsay for the AHDRL Diamonds. And that is it for our first race of the day in Season 1, race number 8, the final race. And we've got playoff positions on the line for the rest of the day. We're going to be in with Europe later today with myself and Dave. We're going to be having America's East as well as America's West. I think you're DSing later today with Team Riot. Is it a close situation in with the ladies with Riot? Or I mean, I remember that being quite the battle, but we had a couple of weeks off,
Yeah.
obviously.
So it's a battle between Dutch Diesel, Riot, and Cryo. But I've got to say, Riot, they took it out in the team time trial. Unexpected win there, in my opinion.
Nice.
And now we're doing pretty well. I think we've got to get top 4 tomorrow. We'll take it out.
Okay,
That'll be
well,
4
it
seasons in
sounds
a row.
yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Super interesting, and we'll definitely be here for America's East and West. To make sure to come and check that out. And then in Europe, we've got to be really specific about what we're covering in the European broadcast, just so everybody knows. We can't be within 1 hour of each other across genders. So when it comes to the men's, there has to be a separation of over an hour between the races that we're covering. On the women's side of things, we can do a little bit more juggling around because there's only 2 races to cover. So just as a heads up on that, when we do get to the European broadcast later today, we'll let you know exactly where things are playing out when it comes to the coverage. And we're trying to make it as fair as we possibly can, while also not juggling too much and just covering nothing. So as that's what can end up happening sometimes. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure to hit those follow buttons, like, comment, subscribe, do all of those things if you like in the content. It helps the channel a ton. For all the rest of the results, head on over to WTRL.racing, and we'll see you later today. Anna, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Good luck later tonight with Team Riot. And as always, everybody, ride on.